Good morning. So today I thought I would answer some questions while I get ready for work. So I asked you guys on Instagram to send me some questions that you have regarding the EPIK program, which is the program that I am working through, and just life in Korea in general. So I have my makeup all set up in front of me. Yeah, let's just get started. I'm gonna wear this headband to keep hair out of my face while I do my makeup. I'm going to start with the primer. This is the All Day Filter Tone Up Base Primer from EPIK, and it has SPF 32 in it. It definitely is harder to balance relationships and friendships when I'm literally across the world and we're in different time zones, and yeah, but I think it's all about just like checking in with your friends, like reaching out. I haven't been the best at doing that, but I have those friends where even though we haven't talked in a long time, we'll just pick up where we left off. So I think that is something that I really treasure. For foundation, I'm gonna go in with the S4 Pro Tailor Foundation. This is the S4 Be Glow foundation. I don't know how I feel about it. It's a little bit too glowy for me, so I always go in with powder, but we'll get to that. I'm in the shade medium 3. This is the darkest shade they have, but it's not that dark. So I just take one pump on this and pat, pat, pat. I have a mirror here. It's really good pay. I get to do what I love, and it's not a hard job, I think. Teaching English here, it's not about like the grammatical part of it, but it's more of like letting them practice how to speak the language, and you know, teaching them new words and using that in the classroom through games and stuff. So it's really a lot of fun. I get to travel places that I wanted to visit, like Thailand and Singapore, you know, are closer to Asia. I was able to travel to places that I wanted to travel to before, which was more difficult before. Cons, it does get lonely, and that was something that I dealt with for a really long time and still am. I still get lonely, but I think because of that loneliness, I was so dependent on the friends that I made while I was in Korea that I would just kind of bring it upon myself, like, oh, something's wrong with me, or like they don't like me if like they hung out without me or something. And that's normal, like people hang out with other people too, like that's fine, they're not only my friends, you know? And so when I started to get more involved in my church community, that's when I started to feel more like I'm a part of a community, and I felt more loved and accepted, and it was a lot more fun just like hanging out with new people and getting to know new people. And now I have people that I'm going to dance class with and traveling with, and it's been really great. So do step out of your comfort zone. If you're that person that's like, oh, I'm gonna wait for this person to like approach me first, like you can't really do that here. If you want to make friends, you have to work for it. But if you would like to, I can make a more in-depth video about the pros and cons about the EPIK program. I kind of wanted to get away from Seattle. If you know Seattle, it's very rainy and gloomy a lot, and during college that was just like a really depressing time, and I wanted to get away from that. I wanted to experience something new, so I decided to come to Korea. And because I've never lived here before, I was interested. I'm going to set my foundation with the Pore Master Sebum Control Powder. This does get everywhere, so try to be careful. I think one of the biggest determinants was my cousin, who was also doing the EPIK program a few years ago. I just happened to be in Korea the same time that she was teaching here, and she was kind of telling me about the program, and she knows that I really love working with children, and teaching was my major in college, and just talking about all of those things, she was like, hey, I think you should try out the program. I think you would really enjoy it. So yeah, the key factors were my cousin and also just me wanting to live here. If I had to teach abroad anywhere else, I don't think I could have done it. But because it was Korea, I was able to do it, and I think that was also the reason why my parents were more willing to let me come and do this. Yes, I had a really great time, especially the first couple months that I was here. Everything was new and exciting, and I was meeting a lot of people, doing a lot of new things. And so I think definitely the first few months that I was here, it was very exciting and very fun. For brows, I'm just using the Anastasia Dip Brow Pomade. You guys know this. I use this every day, all the time. What was the question? Oh, would I recommend it? Yes, definitely. It was so much fun. I've learned a lot more about Korea and I think about my family just by being here. Like, I can understand more of their thinking process, especially in the ways that they raised me. Being in a public school, we talk a lot about like parenting and, you know, about the children and their development and things like that, and I can see why my parents chose to raise me the way that they did. And so I got to understand my parents a little bit more just by being here and living here. Got to also just experience the cities that they have grown up in, the food that they grew up with. Being Korean, I think that was a lot more meaningful to me. But even if you aren't Korean, I know a lot of my non-Korean friends enjoyed their time here. I have friends who have renewed like 2-3 times. But also just the program itself is great. They really take care of you. They take care of all of your questions. They make you feel important and valued as a teacher, and I feel valued at work because my kids at school, they have this rule where they have to bow every time they see a teacher and say 존경합니다, which is I respect you. I was, and I think that's why I decided to renew my contract in Korea for 1 more year. I just needed a little bit more time to think about the next steps and what I want to do later. I'm going to set my brows with the Brow Cara Colorwear by Misha. As of right now, I think I want to go back to school, ironically in Seattle, because that's where I finished my undergrad. I think I do want to go back for the Master's in Teaching program, and mainly thinking about Seattle because I finished my undergrad there, and so I did complete some of the requirements for grad school, for the grad program. So I think it would just be an easier transition. And if that doesn't work out, then I think I'm going to work, I don't know, part-time, or maybe visit an old like teaching position that I had before and see if they're hiring. So I have a couple of options, I guess. And I've also thought about moving to California to live with my sister, because my sister and I did not grow up together, if you didn't know this. So I kind of wanted that before, like, you know, we get too old and we're married and we never get that chance. As I mentioned, I just wasn't ready. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. And just knowing that I have a stable job here, a stable income, and stable housing, it's hard to leave knowing that. Oh, and for blush, I'm using the Love Beam Cheek blush by Lily by Red. This is in shade French Marsala. So another reason why I think EPIK is such a pro is that they take care of your housing. And I don't have to pay for rent. I just get a monthly salary and they pay for my rent. I get medical insurance. A doctor's visit for me, like recently, was like $3 to $5, and then the medicine that they prescribed me was like $2 to $4. It was super cheap. I think when I think about my kids and my job, I just don't want to leave. Like, I love them so much, especially because I wasn't ready. I thought it would be a smart move to stay another year, save a little bit more money, and then think about what I can do later. Like, if I move back to the US next year with a little bit more money saved up, then it would be easier for me to find an apartment and have, you know, extra money saved up for any emergencies, you know, in case it takes me a little while longer to find a job and just settle back in. No, I majored in education in college, and if you have a bachelor's degree in teaching, then you don't need a TESOL certificate. However, if you majored in anything else, or teaching or in English, you don't need the certificate. But if you majored in anything else, then I believe you need to take an online like 100-hour course on teaching. I heard it's not that hard. For eyes, I'm going to prep it with this ColourGram Milk eyeshadow. It's a liquid shadow. I'm gonna look scary, but we'll blend it all out, don't worry. And this is just to prep for the colors that I'm going to put later. I love Daejeon. I think I've mentioned this before many times that I am so thankful to be placed in Daejeon. I originally asked to be put in Seoul, but I love how quiet and laid back Daejeon is, but there are still like a little bit of hustle and bustle, like especially if you go down to like the downtown area. It's definitely busier. There's like shopping and definitely like everything that they have in Seoul they pretty much have in Daejeon. It's just not as dense of a city as Seoul is. I actually don't think that there are a lot of places to like go sightseeing in Daejeon, but it's still fun. Like we still have shopping and the bars and all the food places, so it definitely keeps me entertained. I love the feeling of like going to a busier city like Seoul or Busan, and then I'll come back to Daejeon and it's like quiet. I love that feeling, just like coming home to like a quiet place where I can like recharge. And I love it here. It's right in the middle of Korea basically, so it's really easy for me to travel to Seoul. Like I can go to Seoul in like an hour, and I can go to Gyeongju in an hour. I can go to Busan in like 2 hours. So it's just like really close to everything pretty much. For eyes, I'm going to use this ColourGram Talk Hit Pan Eye Palette. I'm going to take this brown shade and I'm gonna kind of lay it on top of the liquid eyeshadow that we did. Korean Thanksgiving is, I think, one of the biggest holidays in Korea. We get like 4 or 5 days off. I believe one year they had like a week off because Chuseok is the Korean Thanksgiving, like the name of the Korean Thanksgiving. It started like on a Monday or something like that, and so people were able to get a week off. But this year I believe it's on a Thursday, so we're gonna have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, which is like the same as American Thanksgiving. Other holidays, I had to work Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, which kind of sucks. For other holidays, there are a lot of random holidays in Korea. Like you get a day off for your school's birthday. Yeah, there's just like a lot of random days off. There's one day off in August, and I can't remember what that's for. I think every month there's at least one day off. But you usually don't get a week off, and it might be because like there are so many holidays. Yes, I did have previous teaching experience. I've taught first grade at like a summer program. That was the first time I realized that I would really enjoy teaching, and that was what got me into teaching. I'm going to take, let's see, this darker shade and kind of lay it, not tight line, but I'm gonna do that like closer to my eyes. Right before I came to Korea for the EPIK program, I worked at a church for a summer camp. I was the director for that program, and I was in charge of all of the activities, who's in charge of leading what activity and who's teaching what, and I did get to teach a little bit through that too. So I did have a lot, not a lot of teaching experience, but I did have some. And it did make me feel more comfortable. Like you're gonna be like, it's basically like a presentation, you know, every single day in front of kids. going to take this shimmery shade and lay it on top of everything, pretty much mostly focusing on the inner half of the eye. Like I said, I didn't have a really hard time adjusting to Korea, but that was mostly because I do know the language. And so if you are preparing to apply to this program, or you want to visit Korea and live here for like an extended period of time, I definitely would recommend that you learn a little bit of the language. There are some things that did like make me a little bit uncomfortable, like, you know, the buses are different and ordering is different, and you know, some things that you do that are appropriate in America are not appropriate here, and things like that. So I think it's all about learning, and just learning by watching and observing how other people do things was the best way for me. Oh, and do you feel safe in Korea? I do. No one's ever stolen anything. It's not one of those countries where people like really pickpocket here. I have felt scammed before when I was in Hongdae, which is like in Seoul, very densely populated with tourists. It depends. Some people are very nice. Some people get annoyed if, you know, you're trying to communicate with them and they don't understand, but it's like, whose fault is that, you know? But most of the time, I think people are very accepting and very kind. A lot of people are afraid when I start speaking in English. Like, you know those people on the streets that try to like make you sign up for things or like give you flyers? Whenever I'm like, oh, sorry, they're like, oh, English, and then they kind of back off. And I think a lot of people are like that. They kind of get scared and they don't want to talk to you when you're talking in English. But if you try to learn Korean, try to speak a little bit of Korean, they like appreciate it and they will try to like communicate with you. I haven't really had a bad customer service experience in Korea for being a foreigner. So if that's what you're worried about, you don't have to worry. Most people will try to help you. Korean schooling, they start school in the spring and they have their summer break, and then fall is second semester. So if you can, I would apply for the spring intake, because for lashes I'm going to be using the Kiss Me Heroin Make Volume and Curl Mascara. This is brown mascara and kind of gives like a softer look, so I like that. Try to come in the spring. And also, if you think about it, like your contract is a 1-year contract, and if you came in the fall, that means you have to leave in the fall, which means you leave in the middle of the kids' school year, and that's kind of sad. If you are in the spring, you know, you stay for the year, you see some of your kids graduate, and then you're also gone, and that's when a lot of teachers are also gone. Because in Korea, teachers have 5-year contracts with their schools. I don't know if it's different for middle and high school, but most teachers have 5-year contracts if you're an elementary school teacher, and then you gotta switch to a different school. Like you transfer, you move to a different school. But it's not common to see teachers go in the middle of the school year. So if you can, I would recommend coming in the spring and then leaving during the springtime. The lipstick that I'm going to be wearing today is from McQueen New York Air Kiss lipstick, and the packaging is so pretty. It's a matte packaging and the shade is called 분위기 보송, and they have that written in English, and I think that is so cute. So okay, that's all I have for the makeup. I'm gonna set it with the Fix Me Makeup Fixer. This was from Misha. So this is how the makeup turned out. I decided not to do anything to my hair because I might just end up tying it later, honestly. And I don't have time to do anything to it. Just added some earrings. These are just some gold hoops from Madewell. You guys have probably seen me wear this like 1,000 times. Oh yeah, I put my headband here. This top is from Brandy Melville. This flannel, I don't even know where I got this. I can't remember anymore. Probably just at some Korean boutique. And then the jeans are J. Crew, and they are kind of a kick flare boot cut. I don't know what these are called, but they're just black. So that is the end of the video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And leave me a comment below. If you could work anywhere in the world, where would you work and why? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!